All right. Welcome, everyone. I'm going to call the meeting to order. This is my first time actually hosting this type of meeting, so just bear with me as I get some things out of the way. I'm going to announce to everybody that the meeting is hybrid, so any votes will be roll call votes. And I know at least two members will be participating remotely. And if you could identify yourselves, I'd appreciate that. Robert Meany and Bill Warner, are you guys on the line?
Bob Meany's here from New Zealand.
Yeah, Mike, and I'm here from the car.
You need to unmute.
Try again, please.
Okay, Bob Meany is here from New Zealand.
Lucky you.
Yeah, I can't make it up. It's where I am.
Yeah, do you have your sound on your computer?
And Bill, can you identify yourself?
Yeah, Bill Warren is here, somewhere between Orlando and Jacksonville.
All right, great. Thanks, guys. It'll just vibrate. It'll
Yeah,
echo the whole
that should be
time.
good. Yeah.
All right. That's that. Welcome, everybody. So this is our first meeting of the newly formed school building committee. This is, per Article 14 of last year's town meeting. So took us some time, but here we are. So thanks for coming. I'm really excited to get going. So I think generally speaking, we're all here for a common goal, right? So I was thinking about kind of where we've been. I've been through this process before, but really the process started in the early 2000s. Back when I think it was Superintendent McGuire at the time recognized the need for replacement or renovation or some sort of work at Dale Street. And really, the first statement of interest that a town submitted to the state, to the MSBA, was in 2012, and then again in 2016, and then 2017, I think December-ish, we got accepted into that, and that ultimately culminated in a no-go vote last November of 21, I believe it was, the special town meeting. But here we are again. So we got a fresh start. We got a new board, and I'm really excited to get going. So I don't have really too much to say along that. I'd like to get into the agenda. We can have open discussion. We have some public here, maybe some people online as well want to have some comments. I want to kind of open it up to that towards the end of the meeting. So why don't we start with a couple of welcomes? Maybe Gus, you can help kick this off. Appreciate you guys coming here, and you, Scott and Anna May, who actually helped really form this committee. So thank you.
Sure. So anybody doesn't know, or anybody listening doesn't know, I'm Gus Murray, current chair of the Board of Selectmen here in Medfield, and one of three appointing authorities that managed to lure all of you into this committee to take on, pick up the flag and push forward for a new school. I think that the good news, as I see it from that, is that there's very little dissent about the idea that we need a new school. We have agreement on that one point. I wouldn't put any large amounts of money any further steps beyond that. That's the challenge you all have, is to try to find the path to do that. If anyone cares, in terms of background, I've been here for about 25 years. We moved actually 26 years now. We moved here in 95. I raised my sons all here. They're all now grown up in college. And so Medfield has come to mean an awful lot to me, as has the school systems, because both the town and the schools, I absolutely believe, were the major factors in the success we had as parents in bringing our sons up, but also the success I anticipate that they're likely to have as they go through life. So there's a lot here. And I guess that the main thing is to thank you all for being willing to do this. I assure you that certainly if there's any way that I can help, or the Board of Selectmen can help in this process as you go forward, we're absolutely committed and interested in doing that. And I guess again, I just have to compliment you on that little extra dose of courage that it takes to go after this second. So thanks very much.
Hi folks, I am Anna May O'Shafer, and I'm the chair of the school committee. I've been living in town for over 20 years, put all 4 kids through Dale Street, and school committee is firmly supportive of this, and I did just kind of wanted to share a few things. Do you guys remember the last outdoor town meeting we had? If you were there, it was quite significant. Anyways, so there was a woman who came up to the microphone, and I know I've said this in a couple of meetings, but she came up to the mic and she said something like, only one woman on this committee. And she paused and she was like, what's up with that? And then she walked off. And I feel like looking out at this crowd and also at the list, I know a few people are missing here. I feel like we've corrected that dynamic. So already we're off to a good start. So I feel hopeful about that. But I also love a kickoff meeting because I feel it signifies hope and opportunities. And even more so, it's amplified here being amongst you people tonight. And so I want to thank each and every one of you for stepping out to serve, willing, able, thank you. And to find a solution for the Dale Street School. And one last thing I'd like to mention, and that is there was once a person gave me a little bit of a pep talk because I was experiencing a challenge or two, and I imagine that many of you might experience a challenge or two on this new endeavor. But he said to me, Anna Mae, remember that in true service, you need the skin of a rhino and the heart of a dove. So with this, I feel like the heart is our children, you know, a school for our children, a school for our town. But as I said, I am hopeful. I am hopeful because we have the benefit of all the lessons learned from the first go around. And more importantly, we have the willingness and desire to serve our kids in the new school. So thank you.
Thanks, Andy. Scott?
Hello, everybody. I'm Scott McDermott. I'm the town moderator, and I had the honor of appointing 4 members of the committee. And so I really came to thank you. And Medfield asks a lot of our volunteers, but you know, as you look around and look at what has been built over a long, long time, it's really been through volunteers. And so we're asking a lot of you. The other reason I want to say thank you is so that you'll never be able to say to anyone that it was a thankless task, right? So we're excited. But thank you. So I get that a lot, by the way. I'm a believer there's a concept of time that goes back to the Greeks, kairos, as opposed to chronos, right? So there's a point, a moment within time where opportunity and challenge come together, and great things come of that. And so that's how I kind of feel about this moment, to be honest with you. I mean, this is about turning challenge into opportunity. We know the challenges, you're going to learn more about them as well. But this opportunity for Medfield is so important, and it's so strategic that the idea of starting like we are tonight, managing this for success, to me is just really, really important. And I like that there's a want and there's a need, that brings us together. So I was thinking today that 2 things, by way of quotes. If you don't have, Teddy Roosevelt's quote at the Sorbonne, it's not the critic that counts, it starts. You might want to look that up and kind of keep it here. I keep it in my wallet, and just a reminder that you're going to be the ones in the arena. There's going to be a lot of noise and different things as well. I mean, and so finding the capacity to be listeners and seeking to understand and all of that, but as a group, just appreciating that, it's the task is, is yours, and I think it's great. And the last thing is that I went out of my office. Professionally, I consult with growth businesses, and the expression I use the most, and I have on my wall, it says, "There's a reason why they make the windshield bigger than the rearview mirror," and I kind of feel that way as well about this process. The opportunity to be able to look forward to the opportunity. There's a lot to learn. Always. Sometimes you win, sometimes you learn. I said that, but there's a lot to learn. But I look forward to watching this group kind of go forward and to lead, and I know that the whole community will be behind you. Certainly, I'll be behind you. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. Yeah, thanks for letting us know, and thanks for putting us together. I guess I'll start as far as introductions. My name is Mike Weber. I've been in town since I think 2009. 4 kids between the ages of 14 and 7. I run an electrical contracting business in town, in Boston rather. And was on the previous board, and I appreciate the sentiments from the 3 of you, but I'm really optimistic about kind of a fresh start. I really want to emphasize that more than anything else, because sure, we're going to have decisions made throughout this long process that not everyone's going to agree on. And candidly, I don't think sometimes we should all agree. But that's okay. Let's have that discussion. Let's find out what's best for the town. Let's decide as a group. Let's consult the people who are in this room and really, the people who understand kind of the needs and wants of this town. As Scott just said, we have a need, we have a want. It's kind of where, like you said, opportunities and challenges meet, and I can appreciate that. So I'm very optimistic. Albeit, again, the rearview mirror part, we should take some things learned from the past and really just be transparent with the process moving forward. So again, that's me. Maybe Matt, you can start and just if we could do some quick introductions, just because I think this is the first time we've all kind of made.
I'm Matt Elder. I'm a resident of Medfield for 4 years now, from Walpole, just over the Medfield line. I have 3 young children, a 7-year-old and a 4-month-old, who will be attending Medfield schools for as long as I can see. I'm a warrant committee member, so I'm the appointment of the warrant committee membership to this committee. So I'm taking notes and reporting back to them. My findings and kind of just being the voice for them on this committee. So it'd be
Great, thanks.
I'm Jess Riley, and I am from the school committee. To be perfectly honest, the rest of you are marathoning, but I will be sprinting with this committee because my term will be up on March 27th, and I do not intend to run again. As the bylaw says, no school committee member who runs a concurrent term may be appointed to the school building committee. So in the ways that we had to kind of finagle that, unfortunately, I will only be able to be here for a couple of months. However, I think that it certainly plays to your advantage because the next person who comes in will certainly have fresh legs and be here for a longer period of time than perhaps I will be able to. So maybe it gives you more consistency. So enjoy my smiling face until March 27th. And I really with all of our thoughts our kids and it's and I will be watching the go back.
I'm Bob Donahoe. I too have only been here for 4 years now from Westwood. Before that, Abington, where I was on the library building committee and a associate member of the town hall building committee back in the 90s. Those 2 buildings got built. My children are all grown up, and they went to Catholic schools after Abington. They went to Catholic schools, and then when they moved away, we decided to move to Medfield. My areas of expertise, if you want to call it that, is basically I'm more of a jack of all trades. I was in the energy development business since getting out of Wentworth. Went to school there for architectural building construction technology, phased my way into mechanical engineering, and then got up in with a small company called Energy Management Inc., where we designed, built, and operated power plants. One in Dartmouth, Mass, one in Dayton, Mass, one in Tiverton, Rhode Island, one in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, and a few others. And there were all kinds of different power plants. They were fossil fuel, biomass, natural gas, and then we got into a project called Cape Wind. And most of you probably heard of that one time or another. We started that in 2001. We closed it up in 2017. Too much opposition for us. And that's when I retired in 2017. But my background is to get geotechnical, site, civil work, survey, mechanical, and environmental.
Hi, good evening. I'm Robert Worth, also a 4-year resident. 4 years seems to be a common number.
Yeah.
I'm the father of 2 wonderful daughters, 2 and 3, who will also be going through the school system soon enough. I am also an elementary principal I have the pleasure of working in a newly renovated building that has also had an addition put on it. Prior to that, it was, of similar age to our aging buildings here in Medfield. Before starting in my current position, I have a history of working in school buildings that were not kept up as well as they should have been. So I also have a lot of experience working in those buildings. And I'll say that the dramatic difference in working in a new renovated building, being able to focus on teaching and learning, not having to deal with those barriers as an administrator, but also not having to, worry about students and faculty, staff in, the depths of an older building every day. It's dramatic. It's a dramatic difference. And I'm hoping that we can give that opportunity to our students here in Medfield.
I'm Michelle Kirky. I'm a member of the school committee, so I'm here on the school committee like Jeff. I've been in Medfield for 8 years. I have 3 boys, 9, 7, and 4. I realized today, my oldest is at Dale. I will have a child at Dale 6 of the next 7 years. I don't know if I can call you guys now really. And yeah, I'm just excited to be here. I did a lot of advocating for the new school. So I feel like I learned a lot about the project in that space, and I'm looking forward to moving forward. So
Carolyn Casey, I've been in town, not for 30 years, a little bit more. My whole life has been in education. I'm a teacher for many years, consultant for many years, mostly focused in elementary education. I was on the Medfield School Committee for 15 years, and I was going to fix the middle school, high school curriculum. We renovated Memorial, and Dale Street was next on our list. But unfortunately, the extension hit, and it put a hold on what we were doing. So part of me is here to sort of finish a job that I feel, really needs. We did both of my kids went through Medfield Public School, had wonderful experiences. We can go on from Dale, and they're happily launched. So I'm happy to be here and hoping that we can do something great for the kids.
My name is Tony Papantonis. I've been in Medfield for, I think, over 25 years. 2 children have all graduated from Medfield schools and college. So I own a commercial construction company. I've owned it for 20 years. I've been in the construction business since I graduated from college. So very familiar with school construction, municipal construction work. We've built libraries, town halls, police stations, fire stations. We did a fire station in Westwood just recently, and a lot of private work in and around New England, essentially. So this is my first foray into public service, so it'll be interesting. I do sit on the board on a few boards. I'm the president of Habitat for Humanity. I'm on the board of Syracuse University, and now I volunteer for this.
Which will take most of your time.
Just measuring carefully, but I look forward to it. I think someone mentioned that transparency is very critical, and I think that's where we really have to excel. So looking forward to it.
I'm Meredith Chamberlain. I just realized I've almost been in this town 12 years, so somewhere in the middle of the 4-year people and the 20-year people. I have 2 kids, one a freshman at Medfield High School and one in 5th grade currently at Yale. I've spent my life in education. I worked with kids from 6 months old to 22-year-old undergraduates. So I currently work with middle and high school students. I myself, as a faculty member in the Westwood Public Schools, lived through the transition from the old Westwood High that people might not be able to remember to the new Westwood High. All that brought. So my life is education, and I just really believe in giving back. I've served on various committees for the public schools as a volunteer and as a parent, and I'm excited to be a part of this.
I think you heard from me already. You want to talk? This might echo. Can we do it without that?
Yeah.
But, we hear through maybe your
Yeah,
computer.
just turn your sound off altogether and
It
Bob
is.
should be able to unmute.
Bob, if you unmute, maybe we can hear you.
How are you hearing me?
No.
Oh,
It just might be.
I am definitely unmuted.
Sorry, Bob, can't hear you. Hold on a
Hold
second.
on, just unmute on here.
Yeah.
And that should be just single click that right next to the unmute. Make sure
Yeah.
you're on the OWL audio.
Oh, I'm sorry. Bob, try again.
Now turn.
Okay, are we safe to talk? Well, this is going to be good, huh? Okay, does it sound a little more reasonable now? Okay, so the first piece of good news I have for you is that it's 1 o'clock Friday afternoon and 1:30 Friday afternoon in New Zealand. So tomorrow does come. So that's the first piece of good news you have. My name is Bob Meany. I'm a fourth generation resident of Medfield. My father, my wife Donna, my daughter Sarah, who I'm visiting in New Zealand, and my son David all graduated from Medfield High. I served as police chief here from 06 to 18. I was involved along with Chief Bill Kingsbury and several other people in town in getting the public safety building constructed. And as an appointment by Scott McDermott, I'm also the senior representative of the community. So I anticipate, with the permission of the Council on Aging, going down and giving them presentations and updates on what's going on with the process to keep them updated. I absolutely look forward to this process over the next whatever period of time, and fully expect that it will be a thorough and open process, and of course, marked with lively, civil, and respectful debate. And finally, for those of you who live down on the east end of Medfield or shop at Shaw's, and you may occasionally hear a sound that is similar to a bag of emotionally distressed cats trying to get out, yes, I'm the guy that plays the bagpipes down there. And that's it.
There you go, Mike. Hey, everybody, Bill Werner. I've been a resident in town for about 9 years now. I have 4 children in the school system, 3 at Blake and 1 currently at Wheelock. Professionally, I work at BJ's Wholesale Club. I'm the executive vice president of strategy and development. At work, I have responsibility for our real estate, communications, and procurement functions. So a couple of things that'll fit in well with this process. By trade, I'm a CPA, so I grew up in the accounting function. I was a controller at BJ's for a bunch of years, ran their strategic planning process, as well as their investor relations process once we went public in 2018. So really, for me, this is all about giving back. I feel like pretty fortunate to live in town. I think it's great. I think we have to get this done. And to the extent I can be helpful with my background, willing to give it a shot. So looking forward to it. I think, Mike, you got to go back off mute because we can't hear you.
All right, how's that? You guys hear me? All right. We have 3 non-voting members. Let me do this, sorry. Okay, we have 3 non-voting members. Please introduce yourselves.
I am Christine Freeweiler. I'm the town administrator. I started in Medfield in 1999 as the assistant town administrator, and I became the town administrator in 2019.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Steve Brenham. I'm the principal of Dale Street, and this is my 8th year at Dale Street and my 26th year in education. And just want to say thank you to everybody for volunteering your time, and also want to make a special thank you for the former committee that went through over 120 meetings, and really appreciate their time as well. So I know that the teachers and the students are really looking forward to, having something moved along. We had our faculty meeting today. I mentioned that we were coming for the first meeting of this. It was a big round of applause from all the teachers. So I'm always available if you ever want to call and just come by the school and take a look or anything like that. I'd be more than happy to have everybody along.
I'm Jeff Marsden. I'm the superintendent. I've been superintendent for 17 years, 10 of those years in Medfield. Was a member of the last committee that had the project that we put forward. Really looking forward to this process and hoping we can come to a solution that will be best for our kids and our teachers. I'm really looking forward to it. So thanks for volunteering.
Awesome. All right, that was good. Welcome. That was way better than I expected. Candidly, I expected like, hey, I'm Mike. Good to see you. That was awesome. I feel like I know a little bit more about you guys also. I appreciate that. Let's get a couple of logistical things out of the way. So number one, I'll start at the bottom of the agenda here. All of us have been assigned email addresses. Medfield.net, I believe.
I have a list of them. I'll give them to you, see me before you leave, and I have your password and your sign and everything.
So I guess, Christine, maybe you can give me a little bit of just instruction on that, or do you want to talk about, just generally speaking, the communications for the committee, from the committee? Let's do our best to keep it on those email addresses. Generally speaking, really, we want, in the name of transparency, if we're going to communicate, we should do it via those email addresses. Makes everyone's jobs a lot easier in case there's questions on who said what or whatever it may be. We use those email addresses. I think candidly, we should be able to share them with everybody. So that's really the reason behind it. I always like to have a why for why we have to have that. That's the reason.
Will there be an alias set up, that one email address that goes to all of us?
We are working on that currently. There is an SBC email that'll be general, that usually is managed by the chair, but if the committee would like to have it done that way, we can do that as well.
I think we found it useful on the school committee.
Sure.
Is that way, everybody gets the information.
Yep.
Even though it's being sent to the chair. And it just kind of keeps the flow of communication open.
Not a
without
problem.
Deliberation.
Okay. Great. So that's number one. We all have a open meeting law training next. Is this Wednesday night?
Yes.
Next Wednesday at 7 p.m., February 8th. I encourage us all to be there. So obviously, some of you, Michelle, and some other people on our committees already may not have to, we've already done the training, and that's fine. But again, we should all know the law. We should all make sure we understand kind of what we can and can't do. That's in regards to internal communications, things of that nature. I actually have got it by fire a couple years ago, but I'm going to redo it again just to make sure that I'm up on speed in that. So,
and we're going to do the public safety building.
At the public safety.
So it's an in-person meeting?
In-person meeting.
And if you can't make it, because I'll actually be at States.
Yeah, I won't be able to make it.
Okay, we might need to move this meeting.
Yeah, so let's maybe we can.
I'll have Brittany.
Another way to do it, are you zooming it, or is there some way?
We can record it, and we can do it later, but if that date, it doesn't work for the majority of you, we can reschedule.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not a problem.
And that kind of gets me to, and this is maybe something we probably should discuss at the end of every meeting, but generally speaking, the process we're endeavoring on is fairly long. And you go schools in the MSBA process, whether it's a go or a no go. So maybe I'll just outline a quick kind of how I see it, and I'm sure a couple of you will be corrected, be able to correct me on the general process to get a school built. We all can agree that we need a renovation or a new school or whatever it may be. Okay, details aside, if that's the goal, okay. Starting today, how long does that take? And what are the major steps and milestones we got to hurdle through? And then let's kind of we'll get into our next, topic of conversation as far as high level goals. And then maybe we could pick off one or two things we can do. So the cadence of meetings will really depend on, as far as I'm concerned, what the group wants. All right. if there's subcommittees meeting that are formed and they're meeting and, they don't have information, there's no reason to meet every couple of weeks or every third week or whatever it may be we decide upon. Should really be at a cadence that, is good for the town and is good for the group. Okay, so I'd like everyone to think about that a little bit. I don't think we can solve that tonight. I think that we should probably have another meeting, in my opinion, in February, just to get back together if we can all agree on a couple of common goals that we can maybe take out of tonight, and move forward from there. But I'm just, again, high level talking. I think we're anxious to get going, and the process is about 4 to 5 years, starting tonight, and that's to have a school open. All right. The way I outlined it, and well, there's 2 paths we can go on, and we're starting on the path regardless. And Gus reminded me of that, which I appreciate that. We're starting. There's an MSBA component, which is the state funding that is basically, we are, and Jeffrey, correct me if I'm wrong, but submitting a statement of interest in April.
If the school committee and board of selectmen want to do that, absolutely.
It's been mentioned to me that it would probably be approved by both committees, but again, they can't speak for themselves. Generally speaking, the process for that is submit a statement of interest to the state by April 13th, I believe is the date. We don't find out about, the results of that until December of this year. So that's a long time right there, that basically you lose out. If we just sit still and wait for their response, we lose out on that time. So I would endeavor and I would encourage, and we can talk about this as a group, to push forward on things that we can do in the meantime to push forward. The good news, let me just continue on the process. December would be kind of a dividing point. We either get into the program or we don't. We need to make a couple of decisions at that point. Do we move forward with the school on our own? Do we wait until next year? Okay. We can, again, I don't want to make a decision today. Assuming that we either get in or we make a decision to move forward on our own, at that point, we would have to hire owner's project management. You have to hire a design team, an architect, okay? The good news in that process is probably about 6 months, so call it December to June, July-ish. And again, this is, a year and a half from now. There are ways to expedite this, all of what I'm saying, but I'm just giving you a general outline of how it was done prior, how I'm looking at other towns, how they're doing it. There's a feasibility stage after that, which is about a 6-month process. There's a schematic design phase, which is about a 6-month process. At that point, if you're in the MSBA, or even if you're doing it on your own, there's a vote for some funding. Now, if you're doing it on your own, there's a prior vote as well to pay for those consultants. But around that time, that's a vote for funding. If that vote passes, you get a detailed design, which is about another 6 months. And then there's bidding with more schematic, detailed design, construction. Best guess, depending on what we decide, is 1.5 to 2 years. In today's environment, it's 2 years. But who knows in 2026, what the environment looks like in regards to procurement of materials and busyness of contractors, things of that nature. So generally speaking, that's a 4+ year process, 4.5 year process, exactly how I outlined it. I will tell you that generally speaking, we are in a much better spot than we were in 2019 when we started the process cold, because we have a lot of the pre-work done in regards to the feasibility study, site selection, as far as where schools can go, good, bad, otherwise. Obviously, those things need to be discussed and decided upon by the town, and then echoed by us. So generally speaking, we're already ahead of the game. So that's kind of the timeline that I see. So it is a long process. So going back to my original question, as far as cadence of meetings, I originally had thought to say, hey, look, we should do this, once a month and kind of move, and I think that we can do this via email once we get our emails passed, I assume, or maybe another. I think I appreciate everyone responding to that, or the doodle invite or whatever it was. Is that the best way for you guys all to take a look, 3 or 4 dates out there, everyone kind of picks one, and then against majority rules? I think that's best. Generally speaking, Thursday nights don't work perfect for me, so but a Wednesday would be better. You know what I mean? Just everybody's doing something every night in my house, so but that's a personal thing, so. All right, so we'll talk to Christine, we'll get some dates out in the next, 3-4 days. I would like to have, let's call it end of February, beginning of March, just to keep the ball rolling. Last thing I want to do is sit on our hands. Which brings me to kind of the next topic of conversation, and that really is, high level goals. Like I'd like everyone maybe just to think, and I don't need everyone's point of view, but the one thing that I have for a goal is obviously of an end goal of renovation or a brand new school. I think that's kind of obvious. What I'd like as a goal is really to endeavor to be transparent and open and understanding of, and we don't have to agree with everybody, by the way. And someone's going to say, hey, look, we should put a new school up at Hospital Hill right in the middle of, where Jerry holds his concerts. That's where I want it. Boom, right there, right? We don't have to agree with that. We can, but I think we should be respectful of each other and listen to it. Okay, and I don't really know that I like the concerts. So, but generally speaking, things like that, being dismissive, and I think it's going to hurt the process. I would also like a goal of we can endeavor to expedite the process to communicate with the town and really get some things out there. So generally speaking, short term, things that we can do that don't cost a lot of money because our funding is short, is we can get surveys out. We can hold public forums. We can talk about what do people want.
What do we have for funding at this point?
$250,000 that was approved last year. There is a warrant article that is, we don't have a dollar amount yet. I think probably the most that we could probably ask for, Christine, correct me if I'm wrong, is $200,000 to $250,000 in May, if we needed more. Fair?
That's fair right now.
Okay. So round figures, let's just plan on we have $250,000.
That's what we've appropriated right now.
Right now available.
More later.
That's right. So let's, costs in general, an OPM, if you ever got to that point, is probably about $1.5 million to start. And then a design team contingency just to start is $750,000, around those numbers, just to get it to a point where you can have a vote, which is much more than what we paid in 2019, 2020. Things have gotten more expensive. It is what it is. So again, if I had any short-term goals, I would say that we need to reach out to the community. We need to tell them we exist. Okay. We need to tell them what our goals are. We need to tell them that we're doing the best that we can to move this process forward. I don't want their input. Any suggestions on how to do that?
I think that one of the things that I found to be the most frustrating about the previous SBC was that there was no professional, scientific, and distribution of first gathering information. And that there were a lot of people who gave many different kinds of information, but none of it could be compared apples to apples, and we couldn't be sure that we objectively hit every group, everyone in town. So I think in the end, that ended up being very difficult because we couldn't really tell what was true information, what was the kind of town sentiment. We couldn't put out a series of kind of independently vetted facts because we did not have the professional kind of manpower to do that. That was not really the expertise of anybody on the SBC. And it needs to be something that, in my opinion, if I want to sit here and say anything for the next 2 months, we need to take the idea that getting the information that comes out of this committee so seriously that we actually give it the respect that it requires and the budget that it requires. We need to hire someone either in consultancy or throughout the process. That is very much about not just marketing, but also about really identifying our audience and where the needs of the town are and where the knowledge deficits are. Because I also think that that was something that really ended up causing a lot of churn. And I would really think that it would be important to this entire committee, as well as the kids, not only in the next 5 years, but in the next 50, because we don't do this very often, to make sure that we bring the best product with the least churn possible. And that would be my strongest suggestion.
So strong suggestion being hire somebody to get these facts for us.
Yes, absolutely.
And
And
when
hire
you-
somebody who has the idea of how to truly put together a plan about communication,
So
because none of us know how to do that.
let me just continue on that point. So when you say hire somebody to put together a plan, would you expect them also to help us
Yes.
fulfill the plan, right?
Yes.
Okay, so we're not just saying, hey, how do we do this? No.
No.
We're hiring
You
you
need someone.
and then you're gonna
You
do it
need
for us.
somebody To carry that football, to be independent in that way.
Yep. And
That
that's,
is my strongest opinion on this.
so along those lines, I really appreciate that. So generally speaking, okay, I think I got it. And basically, we would say, hey, look, we need the community, we need to know how the community feels, right?
Right.
From north, south, east, west, everyone in between.
Right.
How does everybody feel?
And how do they feel now? Not 15 months ago. Not
Yeah, of
3 years
course.
ago, no, but really.
And maybe it's the same, maybe it's different,
Starting-
but regardless.
Right.
And what's most important to you,
Right.
right? Is it dollars? Is it location? Is it enrollment? Is it whatever it may be, right? Those types of things. Anybody else?
Most of this information probably is available. Someone just has to put it together.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say so, because one, it would be recycled different times. I also think that there needs to be someone who's truly the expert, putting the information together and saying that this is junk data here. What you've done here, this is not helpful. This is how you can tweak this. This is how you can truly get the information that you are looking for. So that this is a smooth process. So I don't think the rest of the town ever wants to go through what we did 15 months ago.
Sure.
Ever. And I think that we just need to put that out there too. We can say that we're starting fresh, and I think it's really important. But we also need to acknowledge that that was a difficult time for many of us. So let's see how we can get past that.
I think it's worth looking as well at school or towns, municipalities, or whoever have had success in this space and what they've done from a communication standpoint to have success, right? So if they did hire a consultant or a firm.
Most OPMs do that. I think ours was, frankly, a little light on that.
Well, OPMs are sort of function and
Oh, I'm sorry, it's not the OPM.
well, it is. They were the people we relied on as left field and their function is truly to be the owner's representative throughout the process. Part of what they do is surveys and, things of that nature, but they're certainly not professionals in those areas.
Right. So that needs to be.
They're construction professionals, quite
Right.
frankly.
And then we need to be made sure, so that's, knowing that that was part of where we kind of fell. That is part of something that we find is priority.
I mean, the reality is, we can talk to Westford, we could talk to Walpole, we could talk to Norwood, we could talk to Wellesley,
Right?
all have ongoing progress
There are a whole lot of
right now.
big dirt hills.
That's
in
right.
Communities around us right now, so.
Okay, I like that idea too. Anything else?
I think two things, piggybacking on what Jess said, I think we have to make sure we hit the feelings and the thoughts of the people that don't have kids in the schools. I think really thinking about those other constituents in this community, and really thinking about how we reach them and reach them thoroughly. And I think the other thing, and I am not aware, so I'm not saying this wasn't done last time, but I really, really personally want to hear from the kids that are currently in Dale and the kids that enter Dale next year. It's really important to me to have their voices because we're all adults. And I understand that they're 8, 9, 10, and 11, but it's eye-opening. So I really just think we have to, if this is the center of our work, and we all agree that we're either renovating, building, whatever, we're all here for something for the kids. There's not a single kid in this room. So I just want to really make sure that we bring it back to that at some level.
Okay.
Hey, Mike,
No, any other short term, I mean, obviously, I have an idea of, it was a great idea, but I mean, generally, we're all on the same page as far as outreach. What about other short term?
Like,
Yeah,
I think we're required to get an enrollment study done. Wasn't that a town meeting? Christine, that as part of the allocation of the 250, I think we're required to get independent enrollment studies. I think that should be something we should.
maybe you can outreach for us as well.
I don't think so. But I don't want to forget about that. So.
That's perfect. That's something, now, is that handled by this committee? I don't know.
I don't remember what the language on the one, I'll have to go back and look.
Remember it being part of the.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Okay. What else short term?
So you mentioned that if the select board and the school committee decide to move forward with submitting an SOI, it would be December where we would find out whether we got back into the program or not.
that's
And at
good.
that point in time, we would need to decide which way we were gonna go. I think we need to decide, we need to better understand what the factors are that would allow us to go alone.
That's
Pros
very,
and cons. And just like, what are the realities there? right?
Sure.
Like, what are the realities if we have to do this alone? Like, I think Betsy mentioned some numbers a few times and what you feel the threshold is for this town. What does that get us? Right?
okay.
Like $50 million, what does that get us?
It gets you,
No,
yeah, I mean,
Can I jump in to Lincoln?
Sure, yes.
My advice to all of you, this is a new committee. Whatever I may or may not have said in the past is what I said in the past. You know, at this stage of this game, I would advise you to look at this with an open mind. You bring your best thinking to it, taking all into account all the considerations, and don't try to even second guess what I said a year and a half ago or 2 years ago. How that did, you know, I love it when people listen to my opinions, but actually this is the time, but I don't think you should.
My point was though that
Yeah.
if we do have to go along, there are clearly factors that we're.
yeah,
Yeah, we're building it.
No, 100%.
We don't know what those look like and what that means.
Well, if you do like, if Jess was talking about looking at other towns that got, yay votes and maybe what they did differently. In the same vein, I think looking at the pros and cons of whether you get funds or don't, and so we find the schools that got built and didn't use some state funds. What were the pros and cons to that? And I know some that people have told me, but then again, they can talk to someone who really said, you know what? We didn't go for the money, we went this way. Okay, so what does that mean?
sure.
Um,
Yeah, generally speaking, $50 million gets you about a 60,000 square foot building that you can design on your own, with your own classroom sizes. And, but that's
So is
probably what it gets in today's dollars.
So is the real drawback just the money? Are there other?
Sure, no,
and
that's-
there's some other, or is that the
Of
big
course.
drawback?
No, I think that there's 1,000 considerations to it, I agree. And I think maybe a study like Jesse suggested is really kind of what's gonna drive those factors, Michelle. So, yeah, I think
I
that's really.
think some of that survey needs to be about financial tolerance,
Yes, exactly.
right? Because I think that's, I mean, that's always the issue. We are a very special unicorn in that, we have almost no commercial income. And yet we're considered to be a high median income community, right? Which is, both of those things are true, but they also put a pinch on us in a way.
Hear me? You want to speak?
Yeah, sorry, Mike. I think I just wanted to, I think echo maybe some of the things were said, but I think it's, two things are really important. One, that we get the feedback in the town. We heard that last time. So as I think about a survey and getting the feedback and sentiment, 100%. But I think something that'll be really valuable before that we do that is to start with a common fact base, so that as the people in the town form their decision and give us their feedback in terms of what they want to see, we're all starting with a common set of facts. So I know the warrant committee's done a ton of work around costs. Like, I think a session with the warrant committee on the work that they've done would be really important. I think feedback on some of the work that was done last time, not to inform our decision, but again, just a common set of facts in terms of things that were considered, not considered, things that were obstacles, roadblocks. I even think something like a open town tour of the building, so that people who haven't been to schools for 10, 20 years can come and show up and see some of what we're trying to solve for, could be really important. Because I think that there's just, coming out of the last process, I think there's a lot of misinformation, and it's going to be the confluence of conditions plus options plus financing that will ultimately inform everyone's decision. So I think doing a little bit of that work in advance while we have some of this time would be extremely valuable from my opinion. I think you got to unmute again, Mike.
How about now? Can you hear me? Thanks, Bob.
Mike and I are available for your next IT function.
Doing really well.
Yeah, doing great.
Also, before we get to the next topic, which is really, so currently I'm the interim chair, right? I was asked to kind of set up the first meeting and go from there. So generally what I think we should do as a committee is vote for a permanent chair, and I don't care. It could be our third meeting, our fourth meeting, but generally speaking, everyone should probably think about that a little bit on their own. Because if you'd like to be nominated to be that, the chairperson, I'm sure we'd love to have you. I'm not saying that I don't want to do this. That said, I'm not saying I want to either. I was just asked to start it. I'm going to be here anyways. I run a lot of meetings as it is, so it's really not that far out of my purview to continue to do this. But that said, a lot of you have a lot more knowledge about this stuff than I do. I just kind of have been through it before. But again, so my gut tells me maybe when you done, March, maybe. You want to take it for now? No, but I think we should, if we're going to be replacing.
Propose that Christine speak to the committee about what the additional duties of the chair might be, so they would understand when.
I
forward.
So the chair is responsible for setting the agenda. So whoever is chair would work closely with my office in getting the agenda set, meetings posted, that kind of thing. Other than that, I can't think of anything else that you're really going to be.
That's a lie.
I'm trying to help you.
No.
Have you thought anything about co-chairs?
You know what? I brought it up only because the interim name is in front of me right now, and I have I think that or a vice chair too. I know was discussed whenever the bylaw was written. There was some discussion along having a chair and a vice chair.
Just as you say, it can be a 4 or 5 year process.
Sure.
And you maybe imagine you can't go to a meeting or whatever. So
Yep.
if you had co-chair or a vice chair, it just might make the whole thing easier for the long haul.
Sure.
But I kind of agree with you in terms of, it's our first time meeting as a group, and some people are in New Zealand. And so, we might want to wait a couple meetings to sort of get to know everybody. And if you don't mind.
No, I know.
For a couple, I
And
all get to know each other, and then, we can think about that.
I'm happy to do it in the interim. I also don't want everyone to think that it's a foregone conclusion that I'm the chair, because it's really the group's decision. So I just want to make sure that, everyone knew where I stood. Happy to do it for the time being. If Jess is, she is leaving, so maybe it's, after we get a full committee, or the kind of the start of a committee, maybe in April, and we kind of go from there. That said, along those same lines, there is an upcoming warrant article, and I forget what number it is. You can tell me, it doesn't matter. They don't have numbers yet. Okay, thank you. So the bylaws, so the bylaw that created this committee doesn't explicitly say how to get new members if need be. Basically, it doesn't explicitly say.
Yeah, it says that if somebody needs the appointing authorities, appoint whoever the person was that goes. And then it also gives an opening in that if we need someone we didn't think of, the select people can appoint additional people that,
So the rest of it's like.
yeah.
Gus, you want to comment on that? I think it inferred that. I'm not sure. Please.
In Chris Potts's here, it actually in the process of looking at the resumes that came in to volunteer. Chris has volunteered to be an ex officio member. We looked at, so well, there were no provisions in the bylaw to add
Yeah, there is.
another ex officio member, and then as we went down that path, we said, well, you had no provision to add it, and even if there was that recognition of the ability to add someone, there was no clear designation of the appointing authority who would do that. So the three of us had Scott, Anna Mae, and I, kind of, I guess, sort of the round group of the appointing authorities that could talk. We discussed two options. One was potentially to go back to the prior originating article that gave rise to the committee in the first place that said the town moderator should do it. And the point of this whole discussion was, what could we find what the sentiment of the town was? What did they want? How could we get close? And the other alternative was to have all three appointing authorities come together to get to consensus. Mark Sorrell basically said, actually, what you should do is adjust the bylaw to make clear as a bylaw how that works. So the only observation I could think right now, if that bylaw's intent was to say that all additional appointments or replacement appointments, if they weren't a replacement from the original appointing authority, should rest with the Board of Selectmen. I guess I didn't pick up on that clear wording in the bylaw.
No, that's not an amendment, that if someone, the warrant committee member doesn't make it, then you were appointing a warrant committee member, so you would go to the warrant committee and ask them to send somebody.
Yeah, so but
Right,
when I
so
get that,
Scott would do the resident at
Sure.
large.
That
That's
part's
what you-
clear.
Yeah, that
Oh,
part
yeah,
is
yeah.
clear, okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
but if a
and-
new ex officio member is going to be thrown in, or for that matter, if the committee itself said, hey, we'd like a member who's a communications person. There was no way, it was just
No.
an omission.
Yeah, we did, there is a sentence that says if we need a select person, like if the state requires
Yeah.
and whatever, then those people could be, if the state said, hey, you don't have this and you need it, then we would put that on.
Yeah.
But there isn't a general one, which is right, and that would be actually, I think, to amend that to allow for,
Which is the purpose of the article.
yeah.
My point being, thank you for clarifying, is that there's an article coming up in May that we're going to clarify kind of some of those semantics that
Yeah.
we need
that
to
came
do.
up.
Yeah, that's all.
I got a quick question. How many students right now currently are at the jail?
391.
And what is the projection?
Depending on who you
Do we have
ask.
that?
Yeah.
10 years on?
Never right here.
24.
So we have. Tony, you're asking for 10 years out?
Well, yeah, I mean, 10 years.
Okay, so I can go in a couple of years, so 23, 24, it's 406, then it goes to 392, 404, 406, 426, 463, 431, 488, 509, 463.
Okay.
So that goes to 2032.
Jeff, that's the district's projection looking at the younger kids, or is it?
That's NASDAQ.
That's net.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just thinking,
Do you wanna
maybe,
expand?
maybe
Yeah.
for our next meeting, it would be helpful. I mean, I haven't been in the Dale Street School for a while.
You know what you're missing.
I know, I remember it. It was fascinating.
One word to.
Yeah.
One word to describe.
Actually, it's
We
a
meet
great
there?
idea.
Why don't we have our meeting, why don't we have our meeting in there?
That's what.
Yes.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And take it, and then really kind of talk about kind of what that looks like in a classroom, what that looks like.
Yeah.
Really talk about what size the classrooms are right now, so we have a level.
I think it would be helpful,
Yeah.
for me anyways,
I love that idea.
that we meet at the Dale Street School and take a look around, because, I mean, I have my own thoughts, and I don't wanna speak out of turn, but.
You're already on the committee.
I think you
Yeah.
No, I mean, my thought is that Dale's a great location. It's got a lot of potential. And, I just think that, you know, it just makes sense to try to work with that area, that building, and, you know, we could talk about, I don't know what's involved with the adjacent FAF Center. You know, kind of meld that in.
I think that's part of the discussion. I think
Right.
that's part of the town outreach that we really need to talk
I
about.
think that's what makes sense.
And getting
So-
the town itself to buy into a plan so that it doesn't come up. You know, like to really say, yes, this is what we will do.
I mean,
Because I think that was a true complication where we just weren't in that position where that could happen
Right.
last time.
Yeah, it was, we're very focused on, getting a school built, and the ramifications of that were discussed, but no plans were in place for any of it. So, okay, I think the next meeting it should be held at Dale. It may cause some complications if we're doing a Zoom.
Steve's on that IT.
That wasn't.
Does Dale not have Wi-Fi?
You'll learn a lot about Dale.
I do the good, bad, and the ugly. Just so you can make your own
Perfect, yeah.
adjustments, yeah.
That's your race problem.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And we'll put that in the agenda. Awesome. See, maybe we can get you to show us around.
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that as well.
I just remember the gym. It was like small, right?
So
Yes, it still is.
Yeah, I
And we-
liked it.
I coach
It
basketball,
was
so
great for dodgeball.
I'm a nerd all the time.
And there's a shooting range underneath the bleachers, actually, which is kind of neat. All right, so, just to stick on the agenda, I know we have some people online as well as some people here, I'm sure have some comments. Anything else like that's, really hot? I heard some really good ideas. I think we should get our emails maybe set up. If you could do that sooner than later, that'd be great. I think, we can maybe start communicating and well, let's wait for the public meeting law.
Yeah.
Let's wait for the public meeting law, training next week. And then we could probably have some communications in regards to a next meeting as well as, pushing forward on some of the ideas that I think we heard tonight that I think are vital to the success of any project in the town. And that's really communications and outreach. I think a lot of what we said was along those lines, in different ways, right?
I have one thing, sorry.
Yeah, please.
So I think it's important for us to see Dale Street. At the same time, I think it's important for us to be as educated as a committee as we possibly can be as far as projects, renovated projects, new projects. With that in mind, I would invite any committee member at any time. If you'd like to come and visit, renovate the school, you're more than welcome to come to my school. I could show you around, over the next 4 or 5 years, anytime you'd like. It's an open invitation for the committee members. It's in Foxborough. It's about 20 minutes from here. I think it would be a good opportunity for us to come to a kind of a common understanding and have some common knowledge about what a renovated building that is 60 years old can look like. Truth be told, I say that as someone who was more in favor of a new school project than a renovated project during the last vote. So
Thanks.
And your school is renovated or no?
my school's renovated with an addition.
Yeah, generally speaking, I think there's also some real good due diligence on Dale Street as far as, we have a 3-ring binder, and I believe it's online, is it not? And once we do the, I think we should probably post it. Do we have a website set up for us yet? Can we post that there?
Sure.
Basically, the existing conditions of Dale. So, I think everything's on the table, so don't get me wrong, but there are some structural things on that as far as width of stairs and heights of ceilings and things of that nature that, yeah.
Who performed that survey?
Say it again.
Who performed that survey? Existing?
Our old facilities, manager.
Was it a third party?
No,
It was an employee.
It was an employee of the town, and it was, pictures and, but we do have also, Arrow Street, the old architectural firm that we had, also did their own kind of survey as well.
Okay.
So we could probably share those on the website as well. I just think it's information, right? We should all have that information, as well as what our industry looks like.
So Aaron Street was the architect.
Yeah.
Interesting.
All right. So we're gonna have another meeting scheduled. It's gonna be at Dale. We're gonna do a public meeting law, open meeting law training, and we've got some good ideas to really hone in on. Okay. Next one is public comments. Anyone? I think I have a question online, but Jerry and Chris, you guys have, yeah, please.
Jerry Potts, 7 Kerr Street. So a large part of the reason I'm here tonight is also to thank all of you for stepping up and doing this. There's, whenever this project comes up, there's this comment about misinformation in the past. And I'll tell you, whatever happened in the past, every single person that I ever was with wanted to build a school. And so I feel it's a failure of all of us that we didn't get a school built, because I know there is huge support for getting Dale Street taken care of. I was never in a discussion, even on the opposing side of the location. Literally, there was not one person I ever talked to. And I talked to a lot of people who said, oh, we don't need a school, you're crazy, right? So I think the exciting part of it is I actually think this committee has a fantastic opportunity to create something that will pull the town together, which is desperately what we need after the last project, because it pitted a group of people against each other that really had a lot more in common. Serving on the townwide master planning, and now on the open space, and then after seeing what happened with State Hospital, this town is totally capable of coming together behind something good. And it's just a matter, I think, of really truly listening to each other and finding the common ground. But the common ground is there. I have no doubt. I've been here almost 30 years in this town. We can build a school. So I'm excited to help any way I can as just a citizen to help that process along, which doesn't mean I'll always say yes and agree with everything. But if the questions can be asked and the data allows us to be driven to a point where everyone feels it's legitimate and people have been listened to, I have no doubt that we can build a great school, whether it's an ad reno, whatever it ends up being, and maybe even fix another problem like the FAST Center at the same time and make it a double win, as opposed to sequence of projects that cost more and more money down the road. Maybe we can actually think strategically and knock off a couple of things the town really needs something talking about. So thank you for serving, and don't be scared when I show up at meetings. I want good things for the town. And actually that last project was the first time I ever voted against something that was related to the school, because all 3 of my kids went through and had a great experience in public schools in Medfield. So thank you for serving, and I can't wait to build something great for the town.
Great, thank you. Anybody else?
Do you have anybody online?
Yep. Russ Hallisey would like to know who is acting as clerk and recording the minutes. So the bylaw actually requires that the school building committee hire somebody to do the minutes. So we have the person the recording clerk for the Board of Selectmen will do the minutes for the school building committee.
Okay. Hopefully that answers your question, Russ. Anything else? Nothing else online? Anyone else out there have any comments or questions? Please raise them now. Oh, yeah, go ahead,
I
Chris.
wanted somebody before me.
Oh, okay.
So I just reiterate what Jerry said, just deep appreciation for everybody who's on this committee.
And just to piggyback on some of the comments that you guys mentioned in terms of especially getting the factual information. I'm just gonna rattle off like just 4 quick things that I had noticed, would be great to get confirmed facts on some of these things. I think there were 3 different documents where we had the square feet of the existing Dale Street building did not agree with each other. So that's a really basic fact that I think would be great to get confirmed. And it may be because there was a difference in measurement of basement or non-basement, but the documents didn't clarify why.
They're probably close, no?
Some of them were off a little bit. One was the facility report, another one was, I think, the Aerosphere or whatever was submitted to MSBA, and then there was another older facility report, and they were all different. And some of them may have been addition or non-addition, but it just would be great to understand what the actual square footage is today, and have that be an agreement. I think it's really helpful to look at 3 different sets of NESDEC enrollments. Because if you compare, say, 2017 to 2019 to 2022, you'll see how far off some of the numbers are. When you know 2017, the projection for 2022, you'll see how far off it is. And that was for me the motivating force on the town meeting, was to try and see if we could get a more scientific enrollment report, like Wellesley does a group that goes into really deep demographics and birth rates. I mean, so it goes into much deeper than that. That's just a suggestion. We somehow have, I've heard this from Bob McGuire, I've heard this from other people who are familiar with our buildings, that at some point in time, we had an architectural design created for a Dale Street addition that mirrored a portion of the building. I don't know what year that was done. But it would be great to see if we can dig that up. And then also just to piggyback on the comment about the pros and cons of the MSBA process. Time is always money, and the MSBA process does require that you have to wait until you can hit certain board meeting dates. I just could never get a clear understanding of how much time that eats up. So it might be good to see.
I'm trying to say that
You have to, with the MSBA process, you have to wait until certain board meetings.
their board meetings. Yeah. I'm sorry.
So if you didn't have that into play, and you could just follow your own schedule.
Yeah.
Does that save you time, and does that time equate to money? I couldn't, it'd be good if you could do that analysis. I don't know whether.
Just, the answer is yes and yes. I promise you that. But that's probably analysis. This is just ad hoc for me. You probably never get that because, 6 months ago, again, a 50,000 square foot building costs X, and today it costs Y. And that there's 1,000 factors that went into that, and it's material costs, not labor so much, but it's material costs and the copper index and steel went up in cost or went down, whatever it may be. So I really like that suggestion. I'm not gonna lie to you, but if I could do that, I would be, sitting in New Zealand as well right now. On a very large yacht. Yeah, no, I think it's a great, but. And I don't have an answer for you, but I do love the idea but it's, again, I know that's like a futurist thing. But I do think it's important to recognize the fact that if we go alone without the MSBA, we create our own schedule. There's no board meetings we wait for. There's none of them. We don't answer to anybody else other than us, our educators, our students, and the community itself. That's who we answer to. So I think the point taken that I think so that's why the question is such a good one is their process is very strict and it's done in a very I watched it happen. It really works. It's very strict, right? And you have to play by those rules. It does work, and they pay you for it. So last time we had about a $80 million school on the table. And our figures, our share was 60 million, and theirs was 20 roughly about that. So I mean, they pay you to go by their process. They pay you. A lot of their ideas are very good. They have the ability to see every school being built around the Commonwealth. That's I always tell the guys who work for me, I said, you work in the same job for 2 years. This guy over here, the project manager's he's seen 40 of them in those 2 years. Maybe listen a little bit, right? You know what I mean? Like what you're doing is great, but So generally speaking, I think there's a benefit to what they do at times. But I would also say that there's also cons to that as well. So, yeah, so I appreciate those questions and comments. Thank you for coming. And looks like we have another question online. I'll read it out loud. In case you guys can't, to the earlier point about having clear fact-checked communications, this is from Kenton Doyle. Kenton, I assume you're a resident, so perhaps the role should be described more as a librarian, tasked with the cataloging and dissemination of information. Comms connotes marketing, which might be perceived as one-sided. Fair. I didn't take it that way, but I can understand. I can understand the comment. I don't think there's no question there. I think it's more of a comment. I get another one. Maybe that was just him.
Yeah, that's his address.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for the comment, Canton. All right. Anything else, closing?
Just, so you're gonna set a form in terms of dates and we're
So
gonna
we're
look again?
Yes, correct. I think, how do you want to handle this?
Brittany will send out a series of dates like she did to come up with this meeting. We'll send out,
Okay.
and we'll double check with everybody about the open meeting law training. If we can find a different date that everybody can go or more people can go, we'll shift that a little bit.
Okay.
And that
Willing
email,
to go to a different day, just saying, you know, if the majority can, if there's some other thing.
Yep. And we'll, whatever we do, we'll record anyway.
Okay.
and those emails about picking a meeting date will come to our new email.
Yes, that's good enough.
Oh,
Or
you
she
wanna
just
do
set
that?
them up tonight. Yeah. Brilliant, Meredith. Brilliant.
You had the people.
That was the thought
online-
process.
Awesome.
Like, you had the people online in the beginning state that they were here, but we never did official roll call here. Want to make sure that we're, if we have to.
We don't
there's no
do roll
voting.
call to open the meeting, just roll call to adjourn.
Yeah, so thank you. I actually need that help, thank you. But if we are all set to adjourn, I will hear a motion to adjourn.
moved.
Okay, second?
Second, Michelle Kirkby.
Okay, thank you. Let's do a roll call. Jess Riley?
Jessica Riley here.
Yeah. Is it here or yes?
Or
or
yes to adjourn.
Yes to adjourn, sorry.
Yes. Hi,
You should do this for me, Jesse.
informative.
Michelle Kirkby,
Michelle Kirkby, yes.
Robert Worth,
Robert Worth, yes.
Meredith Chamberlain,
Meredith Chamberlain, yes.
Meredith Aldridge,
Now that we just.
Bob Meany.
Bob Meany, yes.
That's an affirmative. Sorry, my Zoom isn't working. Bill Warner will get you out of the way at the same time.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Tony Pandatonis.
Yep.
Okay. Robert Donahue.
Yes.
Thank you. And Mike Weber also votes yes to adjourn. Thanks, guys.
Thank
I'm
you.
excited for the process. Thanks, Mike.